Em ta làm. Cắt chẳng cắt. Cái bát.
Gracious and modest, as she is industrious, she passes on the art of weaving to her granddaughter, Sari. Gustinian closely supervises the making of a multitude of offerings required for the cremation rituals. Rice pastry is kneaded into complex forms for the offerings. These will be fried in coconut oil before being presented to the gods. Despite their transient nature, temple offerings are among the most refined art forms of the island. All art here is transient. Even the soft sandstone wears away with time. But the towers and bulls for cremations are perhaps the most startling example of this. The tower and bull, the result of weeks of inspired artistry, will be transformed to ashes in the span of a few hours. The tower will have 7 roofs, indicating his high caste. A prince would have 9. Boma, the guardian, and Garuda, the great bird of mythology, are essential elements of cremation towers. Their sculptors are masters, trained by Lempad himself. Most of the carving is done by descendants, and by those he taught during a century of assisting the dead of his community on their journeys. Almost the entire village community turns out every day to assist in the work. There is a feeling that Lempad's spirit is controlling his own cremation, his final work of art on this earth.
Purple monster calls the Emperor of Mars. The hour of Earth's conquest is near. Excellent, Your Highness.
Television is a very recent introduction to Bali. It entered Lempad's house only 2 months before his death. For most Balinese, this is their first glimpse of the world the tourists come from. The Western invasion is complete. It began back on September the 6th, 1906, when Lempad was in his 44th year. A Dutch fleet stood off the beach of Sanur, which these days is densely covered with tourist hotels. After their early failures to subdue the island, the Dutch were taking no chances. They put ashore 3 battalions of infantry, cavalry and machine gun units, and 2 batteries of field artillery. They met fierce but inadequate resistance. The prince retreated to his palace to consult the sacred palm leaf books. There was only one honorable solution. As the Dutch forces reached the palace walls, a wild drumming came from within, then silence. The main gate opened, and the prince was carried out on his golden throne at the head of a procession of men and women and children. He stepped from his throne, and his priest stabbed him with his own sword. The followers went into a trance frenzy. Mothers stabbed their babies before destroying themselves. Priests passed among them, killing the wounded. Still, the procession kept on coming and falling. The Dutch opened fire. Within half an hour, more than 600 Balinese lay dead. It was to take 2 years and 4 more such incidents before Bali was brought fully under Dutch control. The gods were to show their displeasure with a series of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions of unprecedented magnitude. Their new rulers governed with a relatively light hand. Christian missionary activity was limited, and the traditional rituals were permitted to continue. Balinese cremations made a wonderful spectacle for the first trickle of tourists. The Balinese found their new visitors most entertaining, even carving their faces on temple walls. These portrayals do not seem too far from the truth. A handful of Westerners, however, could see below the surface. Men such as Rudolf Bonnet came to live, paint, and immerse themselves in the culture. Walter Spies, the German musician and painter, saw the island through Balinese eyes. By providing new materials and encouragement, but no deliberate tutoring, these men helped launch a renaissance of the arts, fired by the tourists who were actually prepared to pay money for art, much to the amusement of the Balinese. Lempad, now in his 70s, was among the first to explore the new creative possibilities. This is his earliest known work on paper. It was probably drawn in the late 1920s, while he was helping Spies build his house in Ubud. The 7 celestial nymphs, symbols of divine inspiration, fly down to bathe in an earthly pool. They are spotted by a young prince who persuades one to remain and give him a child. Lempad was still unsure as he experimented with this new medium. Turning his attention to the world around him, a subject that had never before been taken seriously in Bali, he became rapidly more deft. As he mastered the techniques, his faces acquired individual personality and took his work beyond the bounds of traditional Balinese art, which had remained virtually unchanged for centuries. As a woman lies sick, demonic witches hover over her. These demons are always in attendance when a woman is giving birth, particularly a breech birth. Lempad's sculpture was breaking away from the traditional, elaborate style. These are his ancestors, the family deities. He carved them for one of the shrines in his family temple. He sought simpler, less ornate forms, recalling his childhood experiences among the prehistoric ruins of the ancient kingdoms. He used to say that mankind is incapable of making anything that is perfect, so it is better to leave things uncompleted than to pursue the illusion of perfection. In his architecture, Lempad was innovative and experimental. No one understands how this top-heavy gate for his ancestor temple, built in 1935, has survived the earthquakes.
When the big earthquake of 1963 struck, this was the only great gate round that suffered no damage. What makes it different from others, if I may say so, is that it slightly resembles the work of Kebu Iwer, the giant. Just look at that stone. He used it just as it came from the quarry. He didn't chop it up small to then make it big. If you want to make something big, use a big stone.
Jadi bentuk ini Koreago ini adalah
It is like Gusti Lempad himself. From the outside, it looks very simple,
itu adalah manusia yang sederhana, tetapi sederhana di
but
luar,
inside,
tapi
the
di
engineering is very
dalamnya
complicated.
sesuatu yang lain daripada yang lain.
Cremations play their part in preserving the arts, because everyone in the community is able to contribute according to their talents. The Hindu swastika is the wheel of eternal energy. Everything here, 20 days of work, will be destroyed by fire. These lavish preparations appear costly, but the family's finances are not being strained too much. All labor is provided free as a gesture of respect. Many of the materials are contributed by friends. The rich black velvet for the bull is a gift from the Prince of Ubud.